Right now on Denver7, the president makes good on his promise to nominate a woman to fill Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat on the Supreme Court.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
What we know about her record on the bench, and should the Senate act now? A 360 look at the perspectives on whether senators should forge ahead with nomination hearings or wait for voters to weigh in. Wildfires flare up in Colorado, families forced out of their homes in a hurry and taking to the streets to demand greater police accountability. Protests in Denver just days after the announcement that no officers will face charges for Breonna Taylor's death in Kentucky. Thank you for joining us on this special streaming edition of Denver7 News. I'm Jacqueline Allen. Breaking news this evening, President Trump has nominated Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. The conservative justice clerked for late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. President Trump praised her professional record.
She is a woman of unparalleled achievement, towering intellect, sterling credentials, and unyielding loyalty to the Constitution.
Coney Barrett previously showed her conservative take on cases involving gun rights, immigration, and abortion. She's also cast doubt on the Affordable Care Act. At 48 years old, she would become the youngest justice on the Supreme Court, likely to serve for decades to come. So what comes next? Well, now this process moves to the Senate. Their senators will be tasked with either confirming or rejecting Amy Coney Barrett. Opinions are split right now within the Senate on whether a new Supreme Court justice should be confirmed before the November elections. It matters because the Supreme Court could be tasked with settling disputes if the vote is close in any given state. We're taking a 360 look at the perspectives. Colorado Democrat Senator Michael Bennet says we should wait until next year. Colorado Republican Senator Cory Gardner says he's ready to confirm a qualified nominee. As for voters, an ABC News Washington Post poll shows 57% of Americans are in favor of allowing the winner of the presidential race to pick Ginsburg's replacement. So what do you think? Should the Senate wait or take action right now to fill the Supreme Court seat? Share your perspective with us on social media or 360 at thedenverchannel.com. In a little under 2 weeks, Denver7 will be hosting a debate between incumbent Republican Senator Cory Gardner and Democratic challenger John Hickenlooper. You can catch that debate starting at 5 p.m. on October 9th. For everything you need to know about voting in Colorado this year, from deadlines to tracking your ballot, head on over to thedenverchannel.com. We've got all the information. You can click on the Election 2020 tab. Breaking this afternoon, a man is in the hospital after an officer-involved shooting here in Denver. This one happened at 37th Avenue and Race Street just before 2 p.m. Police say they were responding to a call about a man with a knife. When an officer approached that man, police say he advanced on them with the weapon. An officer fired, and that man was taken to the hospital. No officers were hurt. Some powerful pictures here from Larimer County, where fire crews are now battling the third largest wildfire in our state's history. The Cameron Peak fire flared up once again yesterday. It's now burned through an area of more than 110,000 acres. That's bigger than the entire city of Denver. Families living in Glacier View, the Red Feather Highlands subdivision, and the Lady Moon area are out of their homes because of mandatory evacuations right now. The Williams Fork fire outside Frazier in Grand County is also flaring up, forcing evacuations. People in the areas of Kaiser Creek, Crooked Creek, and St. Louis Creek are now being urged to leave that area. And a Wyoming wildfire is now forcing voluntary evacuations in part of Larimer County. The Mullen fire is moving toward Colorado right now. The sheriff's office is encouraging people to leave the Roach and Honholtz area. The National Weather Service says people should avoid travel between Fort Collins and Walden. Here in the Denver metro, all the smoke from those wildfires is creating some pretty hazy skies. Take a look at this live picture. Meteorologist Stacy Donaldson joins me now. And Stacy, the wind is a big part of the problem for those fire crews.
It really is, and the wind has picked up extensively here ahead of a cold front that will really affect us tomorrow. So one last hot day before this cold front moves through, but unfortunately we're seeing very high winds associated with that as it gets closer to us. Temperatures today in the upper 80s here around Denver, 90s for the eastern plains, with 70s and 80s for the higher elevations. And because of those high winds, we have high fire danger throughout the Denver metro area, up through the northeastern part of our state and through southern Colorado and western Colorado as well through 8 o'clock tonight. So that high fire danger, a real issue here as these winds continue to gust across the area. High winds and smoke here from Fort Collins to Greeley to Sterling. Here's some of the wind gusts just in the last hour. They're up to 32 miles an hour at Berthoud Pass, 30 in Fort Morgan, 17 in Parker, and 20 in Broomfield. But coming up, we're going to talk more about that cold front and just how chilly it's going to get on the 7-day forecast.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back! We need a voice and we need to be heard.
On a day to commemorate Black women,
we don't want what happened with Breonna Taylor to be able to happen again.
One name mentioned more than any other.
Infuriated that the people who killed Breonna Taylor walked free.
Days after the decision not to prosecute the officers involved in Breonna Taylor's death, protesters at Denver's annual March for Black Women say justice has not been served.
Breonna Taylor, we waited for months to get justice, and there was none. And so this is a prime example of why something like this is so important.
Important, she says, to make their voices heard.
The purpose and the goal of this march is to bring attention to this, that we are here, that we're not giving up, that we're not giving in, that we're not going to let go of this until we get justice.
A second march called for the release of 6 organizers related to protests in Aurora earlier this summer.
It doesn't make no sense. I want everyone to remember they are facing felony charges.
Protesters continue to march.
And it's not going to stop until we see the incite of change.
Against a justice system they say is unjust.
We're rising up.
Sloan Dickey, Denver7.
And it is looking like a very low-key weekend for the city of Boulder. With rising coronavirus case numbers, the city put some tough rules in place to help slow the spread. Last call for alcohol is now 10 p.m. for everyone, and people aged 18 to 22 are banned from gathering in large groups. Boulder police say they issued dozens of warnings this week. Officers can write tickets, but as of yesterday afternoon, police say no tickets had been issued yet. And our state's largest university is also seeing a huge jump in the number of students pulling out of school. CU Boulder says student withdrawals doubled compared to this time last year. It rose from 285 to 569. Checking the latest coronavirus numbers here in Colorado, the number of cases climbed by 584. That brings our state's total to more than 68,000. The percentage of tests coming back positive, though, stands at just over 3%. Fortunately, that is well below the 5% target set by the World Health Organization for states which choose to reopen. New data shows more than 90% of adults in our nation are still vulnerable to catching the coronavirus. The study published in the journal Lancet, looked at data from U.S. dialysis centers. It found less than 10% of adults have the antibodies needed to fight a COVID-19 infection. The results match closely with initial numbers coming from an upcoming CDC study. A federal judge is ordering the head of U.S. public lands to step down. He says William Pendley was never confirmed by the Senate to his post at the Bureau of Land Management. Despite that, he continued to serve for more than a year. Now, in the past, Pendley stated support of selling off government land. Montana's Democratic governor sued to have him removed. The Department of Interior spokesperson called the decision outrageous and has vowed to appeal. Tomorrow was supposed to be the Rapids' home opener against Sporting Kansas City, but that is now being pushed back after a Rapids player and 3 staff members tested positive for the coronavirus. The team says training is suspended and all players and staff are in isolation. The Rapids have not yet said when that game will be played. All right, for any other team being down 3-1, sounds like time to hit the panic button. But Nuggets fans know that Denver seems to come alive when it's a must-win moment. The Nuggets go up against the Lakers tonight at 7, facing a 3-1 deficit. Now, we will be hoping for a repeat of the comebacks that they pulled off against the Jazz and the Clippers. You can catch Denver7 at 10 for a full post-game analysis. Tomorrow, the Broncos take on the Tampa Bay Bucks at home, and a few thousand fans will actually get to be in the stands at Empower Field at Mile High. If you're going to the game, do not plan to take the special Broncos ride service. RTD is not offering the bus service right now. The agency says light rail is your best bet. The C, E, and W lines all run to the stadium. A 60-year-old bridge in downtown Denver is being replaced to improve safety, and the detour could impact more pedestrians than drivers. Crews will start tearing down the 14th Avenue Bridge. That bridge is between northbound and southbound Spear, and it goes over the Cherry Creek and the Cherry Creek bike path. People on the bike path will be detoured around the construction area. Work starts tomorrow. It takes about 5 months to finish. And the new bridge will have wider sidewalks, pedestrian ramps, and new traffic signals. The pandemic is taking a toll on all of our finances, but Colorado is actually #1 among U.S. states for reliance on credit cards. 2 out of every 5 people borrowed money in the last week to pay a bill or meet an immediate expense. That's according to census data. Experts from LendingTree say our state's high housing prices can put families in a bind. They warn that financial stress is commonly tied to mental health issues. Gardeners, it is that time of year to get your bulbs in the ground. But like most things in 2020, the annual fall plant and bulb sale at the Denver Botanic Gardens is moving online this year. Workers at the gardens have put together a list of dozens of bulbs and plants you can buy, and they can help you pick out the right ones for you. The sale is live right now at the Denver Botanic Gardens website.